Heather Mack and her mother, Sheila von Wiese, embarked on a mother-daughter trip to Bali, Indonesia, seeking a fresh start and reconciliation. However, their journey took a horrific turn, leading to a brutal and shocking death that grabbed global attention. The identity of the killer sent shockwaves through the community, as it was someone completely unexpected. Brace yourself for a case that will deeply disturb and challenge your faith in humanity, with its astonishing twists and turns that defy expectations. This is the case of Heather Mack and Sheila von Wiese. Heather Mack was born October 1995 to notable jazz musician and composer James L. Mack, who was born November 9, 1929, and Sheila Ann von Wiese, born June 10, 1952. Heather attended Oak Park and River Forest High School from 2010 until 2014. While a senior at Oak Park, Heather began dating Tommy Schaefer, an unemployed rapper also known as Tommy XX. Heather's mother did not approve of the relationship, and so she sold their house and moved Heather and herself to Gold Coast, Chicago. The family had lived in the affluent Chicago suburb of Oak Park, but von Wiese-Mack only recently moved to a high-rise condo in the city after taking a financial hit from the real estate market in 2008. Von Wiese-Mack had degrees in business and social work. In 2013, she was featured in a newsletter of a local bibliophilic society called the Caxton Club. She spoke about how she had once majored in political science at Simmons College in Boston and worked for Ted Kennedy. "He had me doing research for him and lots of miscellaneous jobs the political life requires," von Wiese-Mack told the Caxtonian. "I even poured tea for Rose Kennedy a time or two." In 2012, von Wiese-Mack joined a century-old Chicago book club called the Caxton Club. She had varied interests including Asian literature and Wagnerian opera, according to a May 2013 profile of her in the club's publication, Caxtonian.
From the outside at least, this looked very much to be the family who had everything, including this sprawling $1.5 million home in Chicago's historic Frank Lloyd Wright district.
Mr. Mack, on the other hand, was born in Tuscaloosa, Ala, and had an older brother, was raised by a single mother who worked as a maid. The family moved to the south side of Chicago when he was 5 years old. 2 years later, he heard classical music on the radio, and it changed his life forever. At St. Philip High School, Mr. Mack joined the band and was given a choice between the flute and the tuba. Thinking the smaller instrument would be easier to play, he chose the flute, which turned out to be the more difficult instrument, but Mr. Mack mastered it and was considered an excellent flutist. He received a bachelor's and master's degree in music from Roosevelt University and studied musicology at the University of Chicago. James L. Mack was a conductor, composer, producer, and arranger who worked on more than 60 albums for artists including Nancy Wilson, Jerry Butler, and Tyrone Davis, while also serving for more than 30 years as chairman of the music department at Harold Washington College. He met von Wiese in the early 1990s and shortly after decided to marry her. Many of his friends were confused by the marriage. His new bride was 22 years his junior, no less his decision to have a new child at the age of 66. It is believed that von Wiese-Mack discouraged her husband from socializing with his adult children and their families. In 2004, police were called to the Mack residence over claims that the children from James's previous relationships were denied access to their father by Heather's mother, who would turn off the lights and pretend not to be home. The Macks went on a Royal Caribbean Mediterranean cruise in 2001. During the trip, James L. Mack suffered a foot injury, for which he did not receive adequate medical treatment from the ship's doctor, resulting in partial paralysis. He filed a lawsuit against Royal Caribbean, saying that he was partly paralyzed, but this case took many years to resolve. Meanwhile, in 2006, the Macks went on a vacation to Greece. During the trip, James L. Mack died in his hotel from a pulmonary embolism. He was 76 years old at the time of his passing. A pulmonary embolism occurs when a clump of material, most often a blood clot, gets stuck in an artery in the lungs, blocking the flow of blood. Heather was 10 at the time of her father's passing. He had 2 previous marriages that ended in divorce. Mr. Mack also is survived by a son, James Jr., 4 more daughters, Deborah, Donna, Kathy, and Elaine, and 2 grandchildren. Once Mack died, problems between Heather and Sheila emerged. Heather and her mother reportedly had a contentious relationship, with police reporting that they'd made 86 visits to the home between 2004 and 2013. The bulk of the calls were missing person reports, and others included domestic problems and theft. Heather Mack was arrested in December 2011 on domestic battery, aggravated battery, and battery charges involving violence against her mother. She was found guilty of battery and ordered to attend mandatory counseling with a focus on anger management. In January 2010, it is reported that Heather punched her mother's broken ankle. Heather was also accused of stealing $1,000 from her mother at one point. In February 2011, Heather broke her mother's arm and then removed the phone cord to prevent her mother calling 911. In November 2012, she bit her mother, leaving a bruise, but her mother refused to allow police to photograph it. Many of the calls before and since that arrest involved alleged physical violence against von Wiese-Mack from her daughter, which included biting, punching, and hitting. Von Wiese-Mack repeatedly told police she believed Heather needed counseling because she suffered from mental health issues. There were also a number of emergency 911 calls made from the residence in which the caller hung up, and, as is standard procedure, the police department sent a squad car to investigate. Sheila had confided in her friends that her daughter had become a handful and would disappear for days without a word, and she was hanging out with a bad crowd. Heather Mack dropped out of high school 2 years early and lived in 2 different facilities for minors in the county's juvenile court system who suffer from mental health problems. Heather became pregnant by Tommy. Heather had had 2 abortions under her mother's control, and her mother was seeking to obtain a power of attorney over her daughter to enforce the 3rd abortion. At the time that Sheila booked herself and her daughter a trip to Bali, she was still waiting for blood work to find out if Heather was really pregnant. It was her hope that the trip will be good to improve their ailing relationship. Heather and her mother arrived in Bali on August 4th and stayed first at Wiese-Mack Hotel before moving to St. Regis on August the 9th. Heather stole her mother's credit card and booked a business-class flight to Bali for her boyfriend Tommy. Tommy claimed that he had gone to Bali to tell Sheila about Heather's pregnancy. As stated earlier, Tommy was a hip-hop artist who went by the stage name Mr. X. He had dropped out of college to focus on his music. Records indicate there is an outstanding warrant for his arrest after failing to appear in court on marijuana possession charge in Monroe County, Indiana, from February 2013. On the night of August 7, 2014, security camera video at St. Regis showed Sheila having an argument with Schaefer in the hotel lobby. It was also on the same day he checked into the hotel. Mack and Schaefer had hired the taxi and then placed the suitcase inside the car's trunk. The two then told the taxi driver that they were going to check out of the hotel and would return after 2 hours. Mack and Schaefer had not reappeared. The taxi driver inquired with hotel security about the couple's whereabouts. Security attempted to track the couple from their hotel room, and the couple was nowhere to be found. Hotel security guards proceeded to inspect the suitcases and found blood spots. Hotel security then suggested that the taxi driver take the luggage to the police station. Officers there opened the suitcase and discovered the battered body. Sheila's half-naked body was found stuffed inside. The police immediately put a word out for Heather and Tommy. The couple were arrested the next morning after they were found at a hotel about 6 miles away from the St. Regis. The couple told investigators that Sheila was killed by robbers while they managed to escape, which contradicted testimonies by the taxi driver and hotel employees. Heather told the police that 3 masked men entered their room, making her mother angry, and that she asked them out, otherwise she would call the police. It is always the masked men, isn't it? On August 15, 2014, both Mack and Schaefer were designated as prisoners. On August 20th, a urine test confirmed that Heather was indeed pregnant, which was initially thought to be a ruse for her to be sent home. September 19th, Schaefer admitted to killing Sheila. Schaefer claimed that he had killed Sheila von Wiese-Mack after she had threatened to kill their unborn baby, and choked him for half a minute, and Heather admitted to helping him stuff the body into the suitcase. They were both charged with premeditated murder on January 14, 2015. Heather gave birth to a healthy baby girl in March 2015 and named her Stella. She raised her daughter in prison per local custom until she turned 2. Stella was then raised by a foster family in Indonesia, while Heather was in prison. In April 2015, the trial of Heather began. She was tried first in the case for the murder of her mother. As established by now, Sheila von Wiese and her daughter, Heather Mack, had a strained relationship characterized by tension and conflict. The motive behind the alleged murder stemmed from a bitter dispute over the family's inheritance. Heather, at the age of 19, was pregnant with her boyfriend, Tommy Schaefer's child, and she feared her mother would cut her off financially. The trial took place in the Denpasar District Court of Bali. The prosecution argued that Mack and Schaefer had conspired to kill von Wiese, seeking to inherit her fortune. The defense, on the other hand, claimed that Schaefer acted alone and that Mack was an innocent victim who had no involvement in her mother's murder. Throughout the trial, witnesses testified about the volatile relationship between Mack and von Wiese. Several hotel staff members also took the stand, recounting the couple's unusual behavior before and after the crime. The defense presented Mack as a victim of abuse and manipulation by Schaefer. CCTV footage from the St. Regis Bali resort, where the crime took place, was presented as evidence. The footage captured the movements of Heather Mack and her boyfriend, Tommy Schaefer, before and after the murder. It helped establish their presence at the crime scene, the cause of death in the case of Sheila von Wiese, as determined by the autopsy report, was blunt force trauma to the head. The examination revealed that she had suffered severe injuries inflicted by repeated blows to her head with a blunt object. The autopsy also revealed scars on both forearms and a broken left-hand fingernail, which indicated resistance in a fight. Schaefer testified during his trial that von Wiese-Mack became angry when he came to her hotel room that morning to tell her that Mack was pregnant. He testified that he struck her with a heavy metal fruit bowl handle, but only after she made a racial slur, threatened to harm the unborn baby, and began strangling him. Mack said she hid in the bathroom. But their testimony belied emails obtained by the Tribune that show von Wiese-Mack knew about her daughter's pregnancy even before leaving for vacation. Authorities allege that Mack and Schaefer openly communicated in text messages about their murderous plot and used the phrase "saying hi" as code for the actual moment of attack. They nicknamed each other Bonnie and Clyde, a nod to the 1930s outlaw couple. Schaefer deleted many of the text messages before the couple's capture that next morning, but authorities retrieved them. For example, on the morning of the slaying, at 8:20 a.m., Mack is alleged to have texted Schaefer saying, "There's no better time to say hi, is there?"
Jalan, Jalan, Jalan in the jail.
Mack and Schaefer were eventually found guilty of the crime, which involved beating von Wiese to death with a fruit bowl.
Okay, so this is a video that I need to make. A lot of the times, since I've been a kid, I've heard the truth sets you free, the truth sets you free. And I never understood, but I'm Heather Mack, and I want to be set free. I don't want to live in a lie anymore. When I was 10, my mother killed my father in a hotel in Athens, Greece. 2 weeks before I came to Bali, I found out that she killed my father. And I made it up in my heart, in my mind, my soul, in my blood, in the oxygen running through my body, that I wanted to kill my mother. First, I asked Tommy Schaefer to help me find somebody to kill my mom for $50,000. And he said no. After after that, I got this whole new savage idea in my head that I wanted to kill her in a hotel room because she had killed my father in a hotel room. We were going to Bali, so I began to plot. I began turning off Tommy's phone, taking Tommy's phone when he was asleep, starting in Chicago, taking Tommy's phone and having conversations between Tommy and myself, texting myself, having fake conversations, and then deleting them before he could see them. I did that because part of me knew that with this plan of killing my mom in a hotel, that I might get arrested. I didn't want to get arrested by myself in a different country. So I came to Bali and I told Tommy that he was going to come here for a vacation. I told Tommy that he was going to come to Bali for a vacation with me and my mother, and that she knew about it. In all reality, I stole her credit card and bought him a ticket without her knowing about it. I trapped him here. And that is what I regret. I don't regret killing my mother. And as evil as that may sound, that's my reality. If somebody killed Stella, I wouldn't regret killing them either. But I regret bringing Tommy into it. I regret being selfish. I regret trapping an innocent person into this because it was my battle. It was my mother. It was my father. It was my mother. It was my father. It was my battle. I'm sorry to Tommy Schaefer for trapping him. Came to Bali. My mom found out. I killed her myself. And then I told Tommy that if he did not help me clean the room and get rid of the body, that I would tell the police that he did it. I would pay money to get him arrested. So he helped me clean it. He ran with me. In the court, the same thing happened. My lawyers and I, because of the fact that if I get money, if my article that I was charged with was not that I'm the one who killed her, I'm still entitled to the money, and therefore I can pay the lawyers more. So we told Tommy together, my lawyers and I, that if he didn't take the blame in the court, that he would get the death penalty. So he lied in the court because of me. My motivation for doing this was myself. It's from inside of me, and it's my battle. It wasn't Tommy's. Tommy's an innocent man. And an even more innocent man is Ryan, Tommy's cousin. I don't even know how he got involved in this, or why the FBI involved him, because he had absolutely nothing to do with any of it. He's innocent. I don't know if they wanted to sell a better story or what the FBI was on, but Tommy and Ryan are innocent. I'm not. And the only thing Tommy is not innocent of is hiding the body. And the only reason he did that is because of me. Because it was so burning and so deep in my heart, my plan, that I didn't think. I involved him, and I hurt him, and I hurt Stella. And I'm sorry, Tommy Schaefer. I'm sorry. I love you. I really love you, and if I could go back, I would do it myself. And I'm sorry that everyone who ever knew you now thinks you're a murderer when you're not. I'm sorry you won't be able to get a job. I'm sorry everybody thinks that you're some crazy killer. This is the truth. And whoever is watching this, don't hate Tommy. He's innocent. I'm not. I love you, Tommy.
On September 23, 2015, the cousin of Tommy Schaefer, Robert Bibbs, was arrested in Chicago on federal charges of conspiracy for advising Mack and Schaefer about how to kill Mack's mother. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison on June 2, 2017, on one count of conspiracy to commit foreign murder. The plea deal stated that Bibbs was aware that Heather had offered Tommy $50,000 to kill her mother, and that Bibbs advised Schaefer on how to kill her and encouraged him to kill her. He is set to leave custody in February 2025. I wonder whose so-called brilliant plan it was to put Sheila's body in a suitcase and abandon it in a taxi right in front of the hotel. Do you perhaps think this was part of Robert Bibbs's advice, or were they just winging it as they went along at this point? Leave your thoughts in the comment section because, at this point, I had so many questions. As the criminal proceedings played out in Indonesia, a battle over Mack's trust has been ongoing in Chicago. As trustee, Mack's uncle argued that she should be barred from reaping financial benefits from her crime under Illinois' Slayer statute, which says a person who unjustifiably causes the death of another person cannot receive property as a result of the death of that person. About 1/3 of the trust has been spent on legal fees and investment losses, and Judge Neil Cohen denied Mack further access to the money after her conviction until the Slayer statute question was answered. Mack told the Tribune that she will drop the claim to the remaining $1 million of the estate so that it goes to their daughter, but only after certain demands are met, which included that she be supplied with a copy of her father's will and trust and a full accounting of her parents' assets dating to when he died in 2006. Her other conditions included that Stella receives her inheritance at the age of 18, that her uncle be removed as trustee, and that she receive an unspecified payout as well. Mack argues that the Slayer statute should not apply because the money originated with her father, who named her sole beneficiary. She requested that, "I want my food, health, and support and education to be settled on for when I am free, because I will be the guardian of Stella upon my release from prison." She continued to state that we also already have a guardian for Stella. She will not be going back to America at all whatsoever until both Tommy and I are released from prison. Even then, there is absolutely no surety that we will ever return to America. James, Heather's father, had signed his will 5 days before he died and named his daughter the sole beneficiary. I find that to also be a little suspicious. Why wouldn't he leave his wife anything? And how come he died just 5 days after amending his will? His wife was the executor of his estate. She netted $340,667 after legal fees for her share of a 2011 lawsuit settlement surrounding his death, according to court records. Another $500,000 went to James Mack's estate. In the summer 2011, a judge authorized von Wiese-Mack to pay herself the remaining $500,000 as the estate's sole beneficiary. Thereafter, Sheila had set up a $1.56 million trust fund for Heather. In the event of her death, Heather would receive regular payouts until she reaches the age of 30. Heather Mack alleges that her mother misled the court to get the money. The final disposition of the trust fund was resolved in a 2018 settlement in favor of Heather's daughter, Stella. Just when you think this might be the end of this tragic case, the plot thickens. After Heather Mack received a total of 34 months remission from her prison sentence, including a 6-month day remission awarded by President Joko Widodo in August of 2021, she was freed from prison on the 29th of October 2021. Heather wanted to stay in Indonesia with her daughter, claiming it was safer than Chicago. Indonesian immigration indicated that both would be immediately deported, as her daughter was born American under Indonesia's jus sanguinis nationality law. Mack, at the age of 26, was released from the Indonesian prison in October 2021 and deported with her then 7-year-old daughter to the United States. As her flight neared O'Hare Airport in November 2021, an indictment was unsealed in U.S. District Court in Chicago, leveling charges against her. Also charged in that indictment was Tommy Schaefer, Mack's one-time boyfriend, who remains locked up in Bali. The couple is charged here with conspiring to kill Sheila von Wiese-Mack in a foreign country, as well as obstruction of justice.
The American woman who spent 6 years in a jail in Bali for the murder and dismemberment of her mother is back stateside. But that freedom was short-lived. Just as soon as Heather Mack landed in her hometown of Chicago, she was greeted by federal agents and put back behind bars. Jim Murray explains.
Just hours after this video was taken, heiress Heather Mack was arrested when she landed at O'Hare Airport in Chicago today. The charge, conspiracy to commit murder in a foreign country. Her arrest followed Heather's deportation from Bali, where she was released for good behavior after serving 7 years as an accessory to murder and stuffing her mom's body into a suitcase during their vacation on the island Paradise.
Since her return to the United States, Heather has been held in Chicago's downtown Metropolitan Correctional Center. She was held without bond, and her 7-year-old daughter has been placed in the care of Lisa Hellman, as her mother awaits trial. Hellman's mother is Sheila Wiese-Mack's sister. Heather objected when Hellman was originally given custody of Stella, now 8. As the preparations for the new trial is currently underway, it is revealed that back in August 2014, on the day Heather Mack and her mother, Sheila von Wiese-Mack, went to O'Hare Airport for a trip to Bali, Heather, then 18, was exchanging text messages with her then 21-year-old boyfriend, according to a new court filing in the murder conspiracy case. In documents filed, federal prosecutors say he told her, "I can't wait to be rich. It's crazy AF like money, nothing rules the world," they say. Heather responded to her boyfriend, Tommy Schaefer, the next day, saying, "Keep your head up. Trip's going as planned, baby. Faith." Prosecutors say Mack responded with several chilling texts, apparently referring to her mother. "I also know what is in my control. I know what makes people tick. The witch. I know what makes her tick. I'm with her so much. I know her habits, how she acts, what she does at certain times. It's like breaking out of jail. It takes several years of watching. I have been watching her routine, and I know what I do control. I'm sneaky. I'm smart. And I watch. Trust Bonnie. Don't make everyone else's mistake and underestimate me." Schaefer responded, according to the filing, "I like the confidence. Once you think like you're a mastermind, you start understanding that you can control a lot more than you thought." According to Chicago CBS News, federal prosecutors confirmed that they have made significant progress in plea negotiations with Heather and her attorneys. A change of plea hearing has been set for June 15, 2023, when the terms of a potential plea deal could be made public. Her trial had been set to begin on August the 1st. It's not surprising that Heather's case would be resolved without a trial, considering the breadth of the evidence against her and the fact that the charge carries a potential life sentence. No possible sentencing considerations were immediately disclosed. Let me know of thoughts on this case in the comments section. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications, as I will give an update on the case once sentencing has been finalized. Thank you for watching TCC. Catch you next week. Be safe out there.